Hi, I'm Kat Bog, one of many lanterns, and today, as part of my Sabbat cooking series, we'll be making a summery fresh risotto for summer solstice. Please ignore if you can see either the microwave or oven timers what time in the evening it is. This is when I'm making dinner. We're gonna need arborio rice. For this summery one, tomatoes, and some greens. I picked violet leaves from the backyard about 10 minutes ago. I'm also opting for some Brussels sprouts for leaves because I think they're fun, and Parmesan cheese or another cheese. If you're smarter than me, then you already have a vegetable or chicken broth on hand. I don't, so I'll have to flavor the broth by hand with whatever I have in my cabinet. Risotto is one of those dishes that's really a blank canvas, and you can make it as warm and cozy or as energetic and spicy as you want it. To start out, we're just going to take a handful of the rice and toss it in the pan. No liquid. I have evolved past measuring my risotto. Say a handful and a half. Basically, you want to make sure that there's room in here for all of your vegetables and also all of your liquid. The ratio of liquid to rice for this brand of arborio rice is 4:1. So, that looks like less than 1/6 of the pot. This shouldn't be too much, and it'll be just enough for me for dinner tonight. I'm gonna toss this on the stove at a low temperature for like 10 minutes, maybe 15, so I can lightly toast the rice. If you have onions, this is a great time to add your onions as well, with a little bit of oil. I just want to lightly toast the grains so I get a more complicated and fun flavor. Next, we're gonna cut a bunch of things that'll go into my second pan. This is a 2-pan food. I'm very sorry. Oh no, where are the scissors? Where are the kitchen scissors? Where are you, kitchen scissors? Kitchen shears, my beloved. Kitchen shears are just fantastic for onions and also for leafy greens. My pan. I'm leaving this set aside so I can add it at the very end, and then I won't, I'll have the fresh onion flavor. I'm gonna toss a handful of tomatoes in, cut them just in half. Brussels sprouts. When you're cutting Brussels sprouts and you want them to be cooked quickly, cut them as thin as you can. If I want to really get a roasted Brussels sprout, I'll cut them into quarters. But if I'm pan frying them with stuff that I want to cook relatively quickly, tiny, tiny little buddies. That thin. That way they cook up quickly and they don't taste as bitter as they would if they were one solid piece. And then finally, our leafy greens. I'm going to do a lot of these because, similar to spinach, they cook down into almost nothing. Just rolling them up so they're easier to handle and clipping them with the kitchen shears. You can also just slice them with a knife if you don't have kitchen shears, but genuinely, one of my roommates several years ago introduced me to the concept of kitchen shears that live on your fridge, and it changed my life. There we go. That's going to be all of my vegetable portions. Toss in some oil, olive oil for flavor or canola oil for price, some salt, and maybe some other herbs. We'll decide as we go. That's going on a medium-low heat so that it doesn't cook too quickly. Now, let's check on the risotto rice. See how we got a lot of nice toasted bits? That'll lend a nutty flavor to the overall piece. That was the sound of me adding roughly 4 times as much water as there is rice. If you overshoot the water, you can leave it cooking longer. If you undershoot, you can add more. flavor our vegetables and our broth, I'm going to use a little bit of thyme, oregano, and this is powdered field garlic. I made it in the spring. It's an invasive plant. It's delicious. It's everywhere. Go ahead and harvest some field garlic whenever you see it. I added some regular garlic too, because why not? Now we wait. Purists and old style recipes will tell you that you need to be washing the risotto the entire time and stirring it constantly and adding broth as soon as it's absorbed. This is propaganda from the devil. Keep an eye on it. Make sure that if it's cooking too fast, you toss a cover on it, and if it's still very, very watery, you just cook it longer, and you'll get the exact texture that you want. I'm going to be hovering over the risotto right now simply because I don't want to have to bother sitting down by the TV and then coming back and setting up to film again and all of that. But the risotto is simmering and the vegetables are frying. I've turned that all the way down to just a low maintaining temperature so that I don't burn anything. Risotto update. It's way more watery than I want it to be right now. So I've jacked up the heat so it simmers a little bit more. All right, here's our risotto almost finished. I'm showing you almost finished because it is actually cooked. If we look at the grains of rice, they are uniform in texture, or some of these have like a white-ish center, but they aren't perfectly white. And I nibbled on one and it's pretty pleasantly soft, but not mush. But you can see this is not a good texture yet. The broth is way too loose. So I jacked up the heat and I'm just gonna wait until the last of this boils down and we have a nice starchy, almost gel-like consistency. And not 3 minutes later, we have the texture that I want. I turned off the heat, but I have way less broth, and the broth that is remaining is a lot thicker. Now we plate and chomp. Here we are with a little bit of Parmesan and the final bits of the spring onion. Thanks for cooking along with me. The thing about Italians is they really did go off with risotto. I forgot to put my apron on.